Good morning. So glad to see y'all this morning. Oh, it's kind of hot outside, isn't it? I just got back from church where I was helping Mary Scott teach Sunday school, and we were doing a thing on Noah's Ark, which is perfect because I was thinking, all these animals in a zoo in Ukraine are being terrorized with shelling. And I was like, maybe if somebody doesn't care about kids or families, they'll care about elephants. I don't know. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about this morning, even though you may feel like an elephant. Look, Angela is, hi, Beverly. Angela's going to be with us this morning talking about the myths of weight loss.
Hello.
Hey. Oh, thank you, MK. Good morning, Chris.
How are you?
I'm good. I just got back from Sunday school, and it's warm and windy here. Hey, Kathleen. Your hair looks good. You're all bright and perky.
I made it to church in person too this morning. I had been having to watch videos a lot, and so it was nice to be back in person again.
Hey, Renee. Hey, Sandy. Oh, schmuck. I didn't do it as subscribers. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Uh-oh.
Hmm.
Do we need to switch?
No. We'll let the big people listen to it this morning. That's okay. That's okay. That's
Okie doke. That works.
okay. So,
How have you been doing?
oh, I've been good. I've been good. Went out for Mexican food last night. So, this is typically what we do once a week with Angela for subscribers. And because I forgot to turn on the button, you all are going to join in. Angela is a PA and sort of what you got your certification in, Angela?
So I did a certificate of advanced education in obesity medicine.
In obesity medicine. So Angela has been working with us. Really, it's been about now, right?
Sorry, I lost you for a second. It's been about how long?
A month. Have we been doing this about a month?
Yeah.
About a month.
Yeah, right about a month.
Comes on every week and talks to us about something. We've talked about intermittent fasting. We had a Q&A. We have perimenopause coming up. You want to talk about habits, which I think is great. We have what to do on vacation. And lots of my subscribers have been working with Angela, and I personally am working with her, and I'm down to so I'm weighing myself every day, 178.4 from 186. Over the last few weeks, I'm moving to Wellbutrin from Zoloft, and that is good. Of course, last night I forgot to go down on my Zoloft again. And then I'm going to start taking a medicine called Qsemia. So anyway, sort of a discussion that I don't think people have, or if they take medicine, it feels like it should be hush hush, or why are you just lazy? Exercise. So anyway, so you tell us about some myths, because I'm sure that I believe in them all.
Okay. So and if people have questions, you can let me know about those. But I figured while we were waiting, we could kind of just go through some things that I think have been accepted as like common, thoughts about weight, but aren't necessarily true. So one of the things, and I think more of us are getting away from this, is the idea that eating fat makes you fat. That the very low fat, no fat diets were probably a bigger thing a decade ago or so, but I think it's important to know that we do need fat in our diet. There are healthy fats and there are unhealthy fats, and yes, we should avoid the unhealthy fats, but we need the healthy fats for our heart health, and just for kind of daily functioning, but also because it can help us some with weight loss, because if we include healthy fats, we tend to stay full longer, and that helps us to not struggle with hunger or eating as much. So the idea that fat is not horrible for you, I think, is important to be able to embrace. And also kind of noticing that if you
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and also kind of noticing that when you buy things in the grocery store, if they're labeled, fat free or no or low fat, often they actually have a lot more sugar than the other options. So, you don't always want to kind of go with the focus of no fat or low fat. You're better off to focus on including healthy fats in your diet.
That was so I was in college in the early 90s, and that was like a thing that came out then, right? Like fat-free cream cheese, fat-free, which now I'm like, who would buy fat-free cream cheese? But at the time you felt like, well, if I just get some fat-free cream cheese, I can eat 400 rice cakes with that on it. And, that was healthy. So I'm glad to know about the sugar scenario. So if you're going to choose milk, do you choose low-fat milk, whole milk? Do you
Okay.
almond milk? What do you do?
So I think that's not necessarily one of the places where you need the extra fat. So I think
Okay.
if you're a milk person, skim milk is totally fine for, anybody that's older than 2 years old. And if you prefer to stay away from dairy or, cow's milk, then I think almond milk can be a good alternative. I've had some oat milk recently that was tasty. So it kind of comes down to preference from there, I think, with the almond milks and the those side of things that you want to look, because if you're getting the flavored ones or the sweetened ones, then there's going to be extra sugar there.
No sugar. So if you were going to choose, I don't really care about milk. The only thing I want is something to put in my coffee a little bit. What would be my healthiest choice?
Okay. Well,
I like to, and I enjoy.
probably, huh? What'd you say?
I'm just waiting. I said I like to pin you down over. I need a direct
Um,
answer because right now
have
I have unsweetened in my fridge.
So if you buy a flavored creamer, I would look for one that's no sugar. And then if you are
Right?
looking for something that doesn't necessarily have a flavor, then I would pick fat-free half and half, or almond milk or something like that.
Okay. And I'm using no sugar almond milk right now, but I've seen the fat-free half and half. So if those are equal choices, I might lean towards that. So that's good to know. Trying to read these comments here. You might can see them better than me. Um, Sugar-free coffee
Okay, I
mate.
think I'm gonna
Oh,
have to
now
open it
you're
on
giving
the
ideas.
computer to see.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet your crew has some good ideas too. So that kind of goes into, another um, point of not all calories are equal. So sometimes, you might hear people say a calorie is a calorie, but that's not really true because, um, you know, the food that we eat can be broken down into, the word that people use is macronutrients. So protein, fat, carbohydrates, fiber, things like that. And how those all work in our body is not the same. So, yes, in some respects, the total amount of calories can be important in terms of making sure that we're not eating too much. But you know, you can kind of imagine this in your own life. Just if you ate a 250 calorie candy bar, how you would feel versus if you had in a salad, or that had some grilled chicken on it and had about the same number of calories. Like, you're going to feel differently afterwards because they're doing different things inside your body.
Okay. Like the protein. Um, yeah. So I went out for Mexican food last night and I had a few chips. I was like, okay, what am I
What'd
doing?
you
I was
order?
trying to be very aware, found something. So I found this new salad at Mamacita's, which is like our go-to, Mexican in Edenton. And it was called the Soul Salad. And I got it with no cheese and no rice. So it was black beans, chicken, lettuce, avocado, and I put salsa on it. And my son, who's 16, was like, that is a
That
lot
sounds
of food,
great.
Mom. And I was like, Well, you know what, Thomas? It's a lot of lettuce, and I like to eat a lot of food, so I didn't eat all the black beans nearly to the end, but I ate all the chicken, all the lettuce. Yeah, I felt I was like, boy, this is great. And then yeah. So that was fun to find something that sounded good, that was healthy for there. But now this morning,
That's
when we
awesome. It
talk,
sounds like you
so
did a
tell
really
us
good
about
job.
breaking a, well, then this morning I went to church breakfast and had grits, eggs, and a biscuit. So today, because I did that, I knew, okay, I'm eating at 9. I'm doing this kind of intermittent fasting, which you talked about with us at length one week, where I know today, then I'll be done eating at 5. So,
Well, I mean, I think there's two ways you can look at that. You can adjust your time window,
okay.
or you can just kind of make the decision that you're doing something different today and, decide, how you adjust. Are you going to eat a lower calorie meal later to compensate? Are you going to go for a walk so that are doing something a little
Hmm.
different? But I don't know that everybody that it would work for them to just stop eating at 5 because they might still feel hungry, or the next morning then they might really struggle with feeling hungry if they.
Okay, got you. Yeah, and I did think, which I normally would do, if I have a big breakfast at church, I don't usually have lunch. I kind of have an early dinner, but this dinner, I will definitely plan to have a salad with some grilled chicken on it. That's kind of my go-to. Um,
Yeah,
so anyway, a
like
choice,
because
a
I kind
choice.
of think of things
Um,
in the idea of like balance. um you could sort of almost think of it as like a budget. So, if you have kind of a
mm,
general amount of, nutrients or calories that you're going to eat in the day, and you choose to have a sort of a breakfast that might not be your normal breakfast that you would have, then you just sort of balance it out over the course
mhm.
of the day with your other choices. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, and I think that from, your stance of we want to do something long term, I love going to breakfast at church on Sundays. That's something I really enjoy. Now I had one biscuit, not
Hmm.
two. I had sweet and low, not sugar. Um, that's something that I don't want to give up for me. So I have to learn how to use the
Hmm.
things that are really important to me in my daily life. So I like that that's the kind of thinking about it, because that we're going out to a Mexican
Hmm.
restaurant, I think that's why this works better for me. Myths, other myths.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. So I made a list for myself so I wouldn't forget some. Um, that eating at night will make you gain weight. Like some people have kind of bought into the idea that there's a magic time that if you eat after that at night, that you're automatically going to gain weight. Um, if, and that just really isn't the case. It's really more a matter of the big picture rather than just some, what time you specifically eat at night. Um, if you're having doing a
Mm,
whole lot of snacking, late at night, or I mean, you could certainly get yourself in trouble there. But if it's just that dinner is gonna be late because you were out doing activities with the kids, and you can't sit down to eat until 7:30 or 8, then that doesn't mean that you're gonna wreck your plan for the day or gain weight. Like I've had people tell me before, like, oh well, we
mm,
got home really late and then I knew that I couldn't eat because it was too late at night. And then you just sort of set yourself up for
right,
feeling really hungry, or the next day you struggle more.
right. And that makes
The
sense
flip
because
side
I
of that
think
might
probably the
be,
real deal, what you just
mhm.
snacks. The snacks are the problem. So if you've eaten your
Yeah, it's
two
like,
or three meals and
yeah, like,
then you start eating,
well, yeah, like, is what you're eating nutritious is kind of what it comes down to.
hmm hmm
There's a little bit of a
hmm
delay between us. I hope it's not working out too bad on your end.
It's a little bit. I'm
Can you
coming
still
in
hear
here in
me?
my office to see if that helps a little. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay. And I was gonna say, mhm. So the flip side of that kind of might be the idea that you have to eat breakfast every morning. Um, that's one that I was definitely taught is, it's important to eat breakfast every morning to get your metabolism started. And, you need to eat a certain number of meals
Right.
and snacks during the day to keep your metabolism going. And there really isn't any, you know, evidence that that's really true. And actually, show the contrary, that can often be make it a little harder, especially if we're trying to work towards eating when you're hungry and not eating when you're not hungry. It doesn't make sense for you to eat breakfast just because when you're not hungry.
Yeah, and I've lived my whole life thinking that, and honestly have pushed that on my own children. You've got to eat. You've got to eat breakfast. You've got to eat breakfast. I've got to eat breakfast. I'm not hungry just because I thought that was healthier. And so just the other day, I said to my children, I've been wrong about that. And if you don't want to eat breakfast, like Blair said, we have a snack at 11 and then we have lunch at 12:30. Like I'm fine to wait till 11. And I was like, good, then listen to your body. And it felt good to know that and be able to say, you're right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so interesting that lasted so long, that thought. Hmm.
So I have a mom confession. I buy into, I think my parents told me, like, if you had something really important that day, it was important that you eat breakfast so that you could, like, think the best and be on your best, your best game. And so I'm that mom that'll
Right,
be like, you have to eat breakfast today because you have a test.
right, right,
So I
right,
have to confess
right.
on that one. I'm still,
You,
there's probably no evidence there either, but
no, no, and that you're still doing that. So see, I've given it up. I've given it up. That's funny. That is
um,
funny.
so
I was trying to leave.
I think some. Are you still there?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. I was gonna say I think some other myths kind of surround exercise. We have a lot there. Um,
Mm,
some people feel like that's like a big barrier to them losing weight is they don't feel like either that they can exercise, maybe because of a physical issue, or maybe because they can't afford a gym membership, or they don't live in a place where they feel like they can walk in the mornings, or, I mean, you can list their schedule and there can be so many reasons, but exercise is very important for us for a lot of reasons and very healthy, but exercise is not the biggest part of losing weight. Kind of the flip
mm,
side of that is you can't eat whatever you want to eat all day long and then just exercise and it magically fixes everything. The biggest part is getting what we eat right. And then the exercise, it
mm-hmm,
is important for our mental health and our heart health. And it's very important for maintaining the weight that we lose. And it can help with weight loss, but it's not, I think sometimes we give it too big of a place up front and think like, that it's this big thing that we can't achieve weight loss unless we can work out a certain amount every day.
mm-hmm. My husband, and he wouldn't mind me saying that, that's a real, so he's on this journey too. And last night I said, how do you feel like it's going? And he said, well, I feel like I'm just trying to go some days and not eat much. And he said, and I'm exercising like crazy. So that he did that in college. And I guess it worked maybe when he was younger. He would, run 5 miles every night and he could really keep his weight down. But as he's gotten older, it's been hard for him to really, he's coming to terms with it because he's exercising and he doesn't see a difference, in that. So that's why he was glad to talk to you to say, you know what, I've got to do something else. This isn't working the same that it was. Um, so that's really
Yeah, and
an
I'm definitely
important
not
topic,
saying
I
don't
think, that it's like,
exercise, but
right, right. Well, it's healthy for your body.
yeah, it's a
It's
part of the
healthy with your
plan.
body.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This was just
Yeah,
a
and
random
then, I
question
think
they
the
put
other
in,
thing
but
is,
if you were going
yeah.
to, no, go ahead.
What was the question? Oh, I was just gonna say about
What sweet,
exercise that um, I think the other thing is we fall into the trap of that it has to be cardio, and you know, the one thing that we leave out, especially as women, I think often is straight how important strength training is, because we want, when we're losing weight, we want to lose fat, we don't want to lose muscle, and so it's important that you're not just thinking like, oh, it's all cardio. It's very important to also incorporate some strength training into whatever you're doing.
what's the easiest way to do that? Should you join a gym? Should you buy some weights? What do you think is most successful long term?
Well, I think that depends a lot person to person. Like for me, it's easiest if I have some stuff that I can do at home, because I'm not good about fitting that, like the gym doesn't fit well into my current schedule. But some people like do far better if they have a place that they go and they go to the gym. But the cool thing is
Mhm.
there are tons of things you can find online that are free resources, in terms of exercise videos, and that are just based on, body weight or things you have in your house. So I think now we have lots more resources out there than we've ever had before related to exercise, especially if we're trying to kind of incorporate things at home.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I'm streaky about a gym. It's like if you can get it on the right schedule, but if you have any movement in your schedule, then it messes you up, which sort of becomes then it's not a habit anymore, which for me, habits are key with me doing about anything that's the right choice for myself. Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to is, what can you fit into your life and what can you make a habit?
Hmm. What what other myths do you think are really hitting, particularly women of kind of this transitional age, perimenopause age, my age, I'm almost 47, is hell. And we're going to be talking about this next week in length.
Hmm.
But I do think, what do we think about, you always hear women say, well, I just gained weight when I went through that part of my life. Is that like, does it have to be like that?
Well, I don't know that it has to be like that, but it is a point in life that is very challenging from that perspective because of what's going on in our bodies in terms of just, the amount of calories that we're using every day, and some of the other changes that are happening on a hormonal level. So, um, it is a very common time when people struggle with weight gain. And find that they either need to adjust what they've always done, or that they find that it's harder than it used to be, in terms of kind of just this gradual creep of weight that can happen.
Hmm. And how much do genetics play a role in this whole weight thing?
Well, they can play a big role, and I think we're still coming to understand that. But if you look at families, often you will see that um, you know that if your parents struggled with obesity, you frequently do. Or if a baby is born to a mother who is obese while she's pregnant, or the baby has a very high birth weight, then they are going to struggle more with their weight as they grow up. Um,
Hmm.
it's hard sometimes to decipher like is it the environment that contributes, or or is it the genetics? But there definitely is a genetic component there. I mean, like another example would be like we've all had that friend that could eat anything they wanted, and you would watch them and be like, how is
Mhm.
it that they can eat like this and they never gain any weight? And I'm having to be a little bit more diligent and really pay attention to things, or I'll pick up 5 pounds like that.
Right, right, right. Yeah, or when you are that person and then you stop. Um, like you've always been able to do that, and then suddenly one day it sort of turns off, which is hard. What what is
It is.
metabolic syndrome?
Metabolic syndrome is the um, where you are having signs that things are on a metabolic level not happening the way they should in our body. So the things that go along with that generally are elevated cholesterol levels, insulin resistance, or people starting to have elevated insulin levels, be pre-diabetic or diabetic, and then generally weight gain that's happening around the middle, meaning that we're storing weight inside our gut.
Right. Okay. Oh, it's exhausting.
Was that a question from somebody?
Yes, it was. It was a question.
Was that a Adrian question or a question from somebody else? Okay.
No,
Okay.
that was Adrian. It was a subscriber
So,
question. I was trying to catch into the subscriber.
gotcha. So why that matters is from a health perspective, it means that you're increasing your risk of heart disease and diabetes and other chronic health issues. From a weight perspective, or if you're working on weight loss, it's kind of a sign that we need to address that a little differently, because there are some things happening in the background that we probably will have to address before we can make a big difference with weight loss. So it's where a good sign that you need somebody to help you kind of create an individualized plan, because you might find that you're like, well, I'm doing what I've always done and it's not working, or I'm doing what I think I should do, but for some reason it just doesn't seem to be making a difference right now.
Mm-hmm. Are there myths about carbs? What do we know about carbs? What's true? What's false?
I think there's a fair amount of myths about carbs. So some people think that all carbs are bad, and I don't. That's not true. There are some really good things that come from carbs. We get energy from our carbohydrates in our diet, and that's the source of a lot of our fiber and nutrients. When you talk about that, the carbs that we should be including in our diet are fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Where we get into trouble with highly processed carbohydrates, or simple carbohydrates versus complex carbohydrates. So it does matter what kind of carbs you're choosing, but it's not a thing where like all carbs are bad, or you have to stop eating carbs in order to eat to lose weight. You don't have to never eat potatoes again and give up corn and bread, or you know what I mean? Like that's sort of how some people feel, like, okay, I can't have any of those things anymore. It's more a matter of choosing the complex carbs that give us good nutrients versus the really simple carbs that are basically sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that kind of gets lumped in with carbs is gluten. And so a lot of people feel like you have to be gluten free to lose weight. But that's not really true. Gluten is a protein that comes from certain grains, and there are some people who are genuinely allergic to it. So people who have celiac disease cannot tolerate gluten. It causes a lot of bad things to happen in their body. But the average person is able to eat gluten just fine. It's more probably a matter, I've had people say, well, like I feel better when I don't. And that's probably more because they're choosing more complex carbs instead of the really processed stuff. But gluten is not the enemy, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. What is a complex carb?
So a complex carb is going to be a carbohydrate that is nutrient dense. So a vegetable, a fruit, a whole grain is kind of where you get those. The simple carbs are going to be sugars, very processed foods, where, like it's the difference between like white flour and whole wheat flour. The white flour has kind of had all of
Mm-hmm.
the nutrients stripped out of it. And so the response that it brings in our body is different than eating, whole grain bread versus eating white bread. Does that help?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I didn't know a vegetable was a carb. I thought a vegetable was a vegetable.
Well, I mean, they're not, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, they're not bad, but if you look up the value, on a chart and see all the different things, carbohydrates is going to be part of what you get from fruits and vegetables. But you also get, all
Okay,
kinds of nutrients, fiber, sometimes protein.
right, right. Huh. Hmm. See?
Does it
It's
all
a
just get too confusing sometimes?
okay. Oh, it's just so much information. But it's good, I'm
I'm sorry.
clearly there's a lot to learn. No, it's good. I'm so glad to learn it as I sit here and look at my Subway coupons. So if I'm going to go to Subway, what am I going to order?
You know what? I'm actually working on that for a couple of patients right now, of kind of trying to come up with some suggestions for when you need to go to a fast food restaurant. And so that's something that's on my to-do list this week in terms of like really digging into some good options there. I mean, at Subway you can order a salad. One of the cool things is,
Mhm,
now a lot of the restaurants you can see the calories of everything. So it does make it a little easier to try
mhm.
to figure out, what you need to order. But yeah, I'll share that with you too when I get it ready if you want it.
Yeah, I think the subscribers, that'd be a great just thing to share. Because I know like Chick-fil-A, I can get grilled nuggets and the world's smallest kale salad that they call a large. So I might get two of those and, 12 nuggets. And that's satisfying, and it's nice that you don't have to fix it yourself, which I'm a big fan of.
Hmm. And like realistically, sometimes we're gonna need to eat out and we're gonna need to go to fast food restaurants, and it's just, part of life. So sometimes just having the chance to think about it ahead of time and having a plan for what you would get makes it a lot easier.
Yes, it does. So tell us one last myth and then we're going to let you go. We all need to get outside and enjoy this nice weather.
Okay, that's right. I agree. Um, well, I don't know that this is necessarily a myth, but I just wanted to say, like, related to weight loss. So you've lost 8 pounds in essentially
Hmm.
4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. So depending on, I guess I'm not sure exactly when
Right,
you started making
right.
changes, but that's actually excellent, healthy weight loss. And so sometimes, I think we expect, and I know I'm not the most patient of people, and so I want things to happen overnight. But I think it's worth kind of saying that that's awesome for you. I mean, that's excellent. That's going to be healthy progress and easier for you to maintain. Um, and so I would say kind of the thing that's important to know is 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss a week is an excellent rate of weight loss.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I just want to be
So
able
what
to,
was your inches?
I hadn't measured. I'm measuring on Wednesday when I have IVIG this week, and my nurse Jean is coming. And when she said I'll be there Monday morning at 9, I said, well, on
Okay.
Wednesday we have to measure. It's like, girl, all I've done is eat food. I'm not measuring. But I was like, maybe when I measure, she'll be like, damn it. So I will be measuring. I did not measure last week. Let me measure my face again. Hold on. Let's see. Face. Let's see here. Face. Okay. It's still the same. My face, but last week it was bigger. So it's still 24.5 inches.
Well, you look great.
Well, thank you. And thanks for all your
I
help.
don't know that
And,
I've ever tried measuring my face before.
So Angela, if you're in North Carolina, Angela is available to work with you, which is, I obviously highly recommend. She's not paying me to say that. She has an Instagram page, and she joins us every week for kind of this free session. And you non-subscribers just got a little taste for free today. So I hope you'll come over and join the subscriber page. Angela, tell them where to find you on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, you can find me at Lifelong NC on both. So that works for both Instagram and Facebook.
And I'll add the link after this, Lifelong NC. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll see you next week to talk about perimenopause. Thank you. Bye, guys. Subscribers, see you tonight.